was funny then because we were just sort of ramping up into this idea that women needed to have a hoe phase, right?
Yeah.
Not my words. I said party years in my book, but it's the hoe phase where it's like you're going to go and explore your options and have your journey of self-discovery. And then right around 29 years old, 30, 31, that's what I peg as the epiphany phase. And that's when women want to get right with God. And that's when they want to like settle down and they want to have, 2.5 kids and a golden retriever in the yard. And that's when you'll hear women say, "We're all the good guys. We're all the nice guys." But they were left back in your 20s when you didn't want to sort of put a bet on a guy who had some potential. And now you're kind of ass out at 33, 34, as far as your selection is concerned. Meanwhile, men at about 30 are on their ascent to their sexual market value peak because it takes longer for a man to achieve the things that makes him maximally attractive and maximally arousing. So the guy might have, if he's played his cards right and he's maximized his potential, by the time he gets to about 36 years old, that's when he is at his peak sexual market value and has, if he's done everything right, money, muscles, and game, he has the same selection, or if not better selection, than the girl who's 23 years old who was on top of her game.
And then can you talk about, supply and demand curve, you talk about as a woman, you believe as a woman comes to that realization and a man is becoming more and more attractive. This is where the supply and demand curve hit, and around 29 is when you see most first marriages.
Yes, it's exactly. And so if you look at the age of first marriage in the United States, and even in like the UK and Western European countries, it's even later than that. We are delaying marriage like further and further into our 30s. Women, I think it's like 50% of women in the UK aren't having a kid until after 30 years old, which is like they track these things. Again, we have access to that data. A schmuck like me can go and figure out what that data is. I don't have to be a demographer to do that. But so I can quote those stats. But when you look at divorce rates, when you look at marriage rates, when you look at fertility rates, everything is sort of this downstream effect of this idea that, I'm going to play the field a little bit longer. I'm going to wait for the one. I'm going to wait for, for women anyways. It's like, it's not about your career. It's about you're spoiled for choice, right? It's the choice paradox. In a global sexual marketplace, women believe that they have more choice than they actually do. So I think you covered this with Justin at some point. I talk about in my books the difference between, say, the local sexual marketplace and the global sexual marketplace. Everything is globalizing. Currencies are globalizing. Nations are becoming a little, the national lines are becoming less blurred. We have an international economy. Everything's becoming globalized. Why wouldn't the sexual marketplace be globalized as well? So when we look at how we used to date back in the day before we had the internet, before we had cell phones, women were sort of, stuck with whatever their local sexual marketplace was in whatever town they happened to be born in, whatever high school they went to, whatever college they went to. And that was their most immediate circle of local people that they had to select from as a pool of suitors. And that was that. Now, every woman has Instagram. Every woman has access to Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, seeking arrangements. If you can't find your soulmate in Reno, Nevada, then maybe you can find that guy in, Dubai. Maybe you can find him in, Tokyo.
So I have a term for this. It's called the Jojo Von Southey effect. There's a girl that I grew up that was in the military. Her name was Jojo Von Southey. She was from Wichita, Kansas. And for those of you who are on Instagram, you might know who Jojo is. Jojo and I were friends when she was 19. Nobody knew who she was. When she was 19, she was working at Hooters in Wichita. Then one day, she gets called out to go to Los Angeles, and she blows up. She ends up in a bunch of magazines. This European magazine publishes her. She is the first woman I know to hit 1 million followers on Instagram. This is a decade ago. Jojo Von Southey was supposed to, destined, if this was 1985, to marry the guy who owns the car dealership in Wichita, or to marry the doctor or the dentist in Wichita. Instead, she's at Bilzerian's house with me, literally standing between Machine Gun Kelly and fucking Logan Paul, and her and I are looking around like, holy shit, look at this life that we created for ourselves. Where are we at? Yeah. There is no middle class anymore. The Jojo Von Southeys are now sucked out of Wichita or Des Moines or wherever, and they're at the Playboy Mansion. That was the thing that changed the whole dynamic, is that all of a sudden everyone is discovered now. Everyone has access. And these men who are despots, there's no limit. There's no point where it's like, you know what, I've fucked enough women. I'm going to stop messaging hot girls on IG. It never stops. No. It never, there is always room on their roster for more. Always.
Right.
And you just see, I remember sitting next to a girl and seeing a message from Champagne Poppy, fucking Drake, next to her, and I was like, God damn, dude, Drake, bro. It doesn't matter. And she didn't go off with him, but I just remember thinking, fucking Drake. I got to deal with Drake, bro. This is fucked
This
up.
is your competition.
This is my competition. Bro, what the fuck am I, like, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Have you, and let me say one other thing. I have some of the most fun nights of my life in hot tubs in fucking Jamaica and Mexico with some of the wildest women.
Shout out to Mike Tang.
Shout out to Mike Tang.
He's at Paradise Challenge.
Paradise Challenge. Some of the wildest women I've ever met in my life. And I love them as friends, and I don't judge them for their behavior. But I also know I don't want to marry them, right? So this is the thing. Like for every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. I know that because I host two of the biggest bikini competitions in the world, there's a lot of women who don't want to date me. I understand there's a consequence for my behavior. Well, for some women, they're like, well, you know, I did all this wild stuff, and I did porn, and I shoot guy girl OF, and all this kind of stuff, and I have a bunch of money, and I don't judge you for doing that. But when later on you have trouble finding someone who wants to marry you, please understand these things are correlated. And I'm not, I don't hate you, and I'm not judging you, but I am telling you this is going to be a difficult thing that you're going to have to deal with. Do you understand? Just like if I take steroids my whole life and all of a sudden my liver and kidney failed, it's not. I don't blame the doctor. It was my fault for doing this. Right? Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is that's a conversation we've had. I think I did a whole episode with Myron and Fresh about female promiscuity and why your sexual past matters. Even more so in the digital age, because every one of us, I can't just point this out at women as well, every one of us has a digital footprint. So ladies, what's your digital footprint? Is it OnlyFans? Is it amateur porn? Is it, is it like catfishing guys on Instagram? Is it just like you doing like yacht parties that you put on your Instagram that your potential, new husband is going to have to consider when he's like really trying to figure out whether or not he wants to get with you or not? And so there's this digital footprint, and there's downstream effects from that I don't think we're in the new frontier, man. It's the wild fucking West here. And so when you point out and you say, ladies, there's going to be results, there's going to be consequences, there's going to be, accountability for
they're not Rolo's consequences.
They don't want it to be. They want to blame it on you.
Yes.
They want to say you're insecure for pointing that out to me over and over and over again, when in fact it's true. But the fact that you are even like have a question about it makes you an insecure man.
Could you imagine pushing someone off?
Shut up, please.
Could you imagine pushing someone off of a balcony and then charging Isaac Newton with murder? Like that's essentially what's going on. Yeah. I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you this is gravity. That's essentially there's a physical reaction that's going to happen.